Ladies and gentlemen, right now we are going to have our next panel discussion, and this is about the impact of 3D printing and also imaging AI in healthcare. So as we have already practiced throughout the last day and today, please ask your questions so that we can address all the points which are necessary for you. When I say we, then I would like to welcome our experts here on stage, and the first expert here to welcome is Mrs. Núria Adell Gomez, and she is 3D surgical planning lead at the Barcelona Children's Hospital, Sant Joan de Déu. Please come and join us here on stage, and an applause. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Then the next expert to welcome on stage is Mr. Hans Lamecker, and he is the co-founder of 1,000 Shapes. So Hans, also an applause for you to visit us here on stage. And then finally we have Martin Häuer, and he is engineer at the Physikalisch-Technische Bundesanstalt. Yes, okay, so this is your applause and this is your seat. Very, very good. Yeah, now we know your names and also, let's say, a little bit about your company, but tell us a little bit more about your role that you are playing in 3D printing and also imaging in the healthcare area. And maybe, Núria, you can start.
Okay, well, I am a biomedical engineer working at Sant Joan de Déu Hospital in Barcelona, which is a pediatric hospital. And since we planned the first case in 2013, which was a complex oncological case, the activity that we performed has grown a lot, and we implemented in 2015 the 3D unit, in which our activity is based in planning surgeries, complex surgeries, using virtual planning and 3D printing.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we know much more. Okay, Hans, 1,000 Shapes.
Yeah.
What is it? What can it do?
What is it? Thank you, Alexander. So yeah, I mean, so we believe that one of the key selling points of 3D printing is individualization, right? We are able, with this exciting technology, to produce individualized devices. And we've seen in the talks before that this is a costly thing, all right? It's still, in many cases, it's a luxury product, right? It's an individualized product, like a tailor-made suit. It's a very costly product. And what our mission is to make to contribute to making this scalable, yeah? To, you know, by the help of design software, yeah? So we're not working in the hardware part, but on the software side. And our mission is to making the design process, the design of individualized devices, scalable. What we mean with scalable are two things, of course, bringing the cost down. I mean, we've seen great examples today of such procedures, but it's still very, very costly. So we want to bring the cost down. That's what we do with automating the design process. Another thing is, it's also very important in the healthcare sector, is the time from ordering the device to shipping the device, right? And that's another key indicator for our work that we want to achieve with our software.
Okay, we will follow up on this then afterwards. But now, Martin, tell us a little bit more also about you and your role.
So I'm active in a variety of different open source hardware communities, but today I'm here for Physikalisch-Technische Bundesanstalt because we are developing there an open source MRI scanner. So in engineering, open source is a rather new approach, specifically in hardware and very specifically for medtech, but it's a little bit counterintuitive. But we believe that healthcare is a global issue, and our mission is to make, well, to start with imaging techniques and make this more accessible. And the only way to go forward in that regard is open source. What I mean with open source and hardware is that the design files, the 3D models, the calculations and everything is available online under free license, so everybody can study, modify it also, and also make and sell the MRI scanners based on that design.
Good. Thank you very much, Martin. And now the key question is, what are basically your expectations from a user perspective? What are your expectations on using 3D printing? And for this one, we have already prepared a poll for you, which is then going to become a word cloud. So please punch in your expectations, and then we are going to have a look at this together. Okay, so while the word cloud is growing, we can already see that there are aspects in order to further automate, maybe also simplify and also speed up the process. So Hans, you also referred to the time to market, which was also shown there. Now, when you see this, is this fully in line also with your expectation and also your expertise in this area?
Definitely. Yeah, this, I mean, most of the topics that are mentioned here in these in this word cloud, yeah, is definitely very much in line with our mission. Yeah. I saw one thing that was also very important to mention: improved patient care, right? So ultimately, that's what we're working for, right? I mean, this is the end goal of the work that we are doing, and we should keep that in mind. Although I have talked a lot about optimization of processes, automating of processes, reducing the time to provide. The time to provide the tool, I think that has very much direct impact on the patient care, yeah, because especially in tumor cases, for instance, probably the cases that you will design with your software as well, it's very important to provide the devices quickly, individualized quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the other hand, if we think about automation, what kind of impact does it have on the patient care? I think that's making it accessible, making individualized treatment and intervention support accessible to more people, right? Yes. Or to new markets that have a lower standard healthcare system, for instance. Developing countries. So that's why I think this is very much in line. I like the statement about the patient care. Yeah.
Very. And this creates a bridge to Núria, because here we see faster, we see automation, efficiency, and so on. But from your experience at the point of care, do you also use 3D printing there as maybe also teaching material or learning material training? Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, we at Sant develop simulators for training, for courses for medical students that allowed them to train the abilities, the surgical abilities, without the need of using cadaveric samples. And also the fact to print the anatomical model allows the surgeons to anticipate potential challenges before the surgery, and this reduces the errors in the surgery and also improves the outcomes. For example, recently we planned a case of a school-based tumor, which is called a chordoma, also a pediatric case, and we printed a realistic anatomical model with different colors and different textures, which enabled the surgeon to assess different approaches for the tumor resection before the surgery. So, in fact, this model contributed to the decision-making for the approach to the surgery for surgical resection, for tumor resection, sorry. So it improved the safety of the surgery. And we also design and fabricate in-house surgical guides adapted to the anatomy of the patient, that guide the surgeon to perform an osteotomy or positioning the screws, which also makes surgeries safer and faster. In fact, in the most complex cases, such as maxillofacial interventions or spine surgery, the time can be reduced up to 40%, which can also be translated into a reduction in the costs associated with the surgery. And finally, I am seeing here also the less reoperation, and I think that medical imaging will also go here, because we at Sant Joan de Déu have an operating room with an intraoperative CT scan. And in maxillofacial surgeries, for example, they acquire a CT scan of the patient after the intervention, but before closing the patient. And the engineers at the 3D unit go there in these surgeries, and what we do is to analyze the results and superpose the CT acquisition, the 3D model of the intraoperative result, with the virtual planning 3D model that was the result that was wanted to obtain. Then, together with surgeons, we analyze the accuracy of the intervention, and they can decide if they want to make any modification before closing the patient. So this can have an impact in avoiding second interventions, because maybe the result wasn't as the one that was expected.
Okay, so I mean, you referred to the 40% which it could be faster, and I mean, of course, if you can avoid a second intervention and you can make it right the first time, of course, the quality, and we have a couple of things which are hinting into this direction: better quality, reduced human error, which is this, of course, and patient satisfaction. Do you also have some sort of number on this, how the quality, if it can be measured, has improved, or the error rate has been reduced?
Well, yes, the error rate has been reduced a lot, and also the patient satisfaction and the precision in the surgeries. I can't give you real numbers, but in general, yes, this has been improved. And in fact, some surgeons think that once they have used this surgical guide and 3D planning, they think that it's not ethical not using this for operating the patients.
Okay, okay. And right now, I mean, you are from the Testanstalt, to say it like this. I mean, when we are using 3D printing, is it safe, or what is your point on this?
If 3D printing, if it's safe?
Yes, yeah.
Well, we don't implant things into the patient. When we 3D print something, in our case, we use it for the MRI scanner.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it's very useful for rapid prototyping.
Yes.
And also, yet it comes with reliable quality output, even on different locations on Earth. So it's rather, we try to scale it more into environments with less industrial infrastructure. So last year we had a replication in Uganda, for instance. Mm-hmm. And so a stable electrical grid is a topic, for instance. But the actual process, yeah, that works for us.
Okay, it's very good. And I mean, you referred to the process, and maybe you, Hans, you can tell us a little bit about the design process, right? Because you also said it's your vision to make it faster, to make it more automated, to increase the speed, but also to increase the quality and bring down the cost. Tell us a little bit about the vision of the process.
Yeah. So, I mean, from our point of view, there are like two challenges that we need to solve. One is that there's different know-how coming together, right? You have the input from the healthcare sector. You have the scans, MR, CT, or intraoral, or whatever, things like this. You have the you need, as an output, you need to have the know-how from the manufacturing side. So what is manufacturable, and what are the requirements on that? And then what we are creating is software. So these kind of things need to come together. And like at 1000 Shapes, we bring this together. We have the experts that combine these together. Mm-hmm. There's another challenge. The second challenge is, in many cases in medicine, it's not about well, on the one hand it's protection, on the other hand it's restoration, right? So you have a case where a tumor, where the organ is gone, or there's something missing, there's a pathology, and that needs to be reconstructed. And we use AI technology. Maybe we'll come to that later again, to make smart guesses about how to reconstruct it, because that's the basis for the design. So these things need to be solved and then streamlined for a specific product. So we don't create a generalized solution for every design, but we do that for specific projects. And I can give you examples, for instance, what we've seen today. In craniomaxillofacial surgery with the software solution that we've provided for our customer, it's now possible to create individualized osteosynthesis designs within minutes. So with standardized off-the-shelf CAD or CAM software, you need to have a cut designer who knows the tools, and it takes still hours to do that, bringing together. And our software combines this so that, let's say, a surgeon or an engineer supporting the surgeon can do such designs within minutes. And that's what we can achieve for this kind of products, what we see in orbital meshes or metal plates for the mandible or mid-face. Yeah.
Okay. Do we have other examples that we can share with the audience?
In regards of the use of AI? Or?
Yes, AI, but also 3D printing. Yeah,
When I thought about AI, well, for the scanner itself, we still use like human engineers to make the design, but it comes to the point what you do with the MRI data afterwards, and what our benefit is, so to say, that we have a large number of, or we're expecting a large number of systems that are comparable to each other. So we get the raw data out of that, and we can share this with training algorithms that then can be used for AI, which I guess is also where a lot of industrial interest comes from for that project. Yeah, and so because of the open nature, you can also see what you can expect in regards of quality and in different settings. So yeah, and connecting also the clinics in this regard.
Can I add to this? Because I think that's an interesting point that came up in the discussions today or in the presentations before. So synthesization is an interesting aspect. So if you like, you can also call it generative AI, right? That allows us to create scenarios, for like imaging scenarios with artifacts or design scenarios with pathologies or things like this. We can create those, use it for training, like health professional training, but also for the training of our algorithms themselves afterwards. That's an interesting aspect.
Yeah, I think the big difference in this in my project, so to say, is that we share all of that with the community or with the public, so to say, which makes the systems better. And this process seems to work a lot faster than in traditional settings because we don't operate in a silo. And if we would be a startup, so to say, then we would need investors that then push us in a certain direction. And that way, this technology is independent from the organization of origin, which makes us a lot more flexible in the world to operate.
I mean, Hans, you also used already the expression challenging or challenges, basically, and this is a question that I would like to address to Núria. Yeah? So especially with regards to 3D printing and also establishing a 3D unit. I mean, everything that we have discussed so far during the 2 days and here on stage right now, it sounds so positive, but what are the challenges, basically, to set up a 3D unit?
Well, for hospitals that want to set up this in-house 3D unit, I think that right now there are two main challenges, which can be the costs and also the regulatory compliance. First, the initial investment that has to be done to implement a 3D unit is high, because the 3D equipment, the specialized software, or the skilled personnel demands high financial resources that many hospitals maybe can't afford. And the reimbursement for these services may not cover the initial cost. And the second challenge, which also remains a barrier, is the regulatory compliance, because surgical guides, anatomical models are considered medical devices, so they have to meet strict regulatory requirements, which make this workflow, this process, more complex and also requires for meticulous attention. So yes, as a summary, the two, the cost and the regulatory, are the challenges that we face right now.
Okay. And Hans, from your side, are there other challenges that you see?
Actually, I can agree with what you're saying. I think that's like from our point of view, what we see in many cases is that our customers they think a lot about the hardware. They buy the hardware, the manufacturing pipeline. Yeah. They don't think very much about the software. And actually, it is a cost factor, like you say. It is also a cost factor to invest into the scaling of these systems. I mean, we've seen so many examples today and yesterday. It just doesn't scale. And there's a lot of investment to be done on that side. And I would say your two arguments are basically the same. The regulatory problems are just cost at the moment. I think they're solvable, but it requires some work also, not just on the hardware, but also on the software side. And that's something I think it has to be clear that we need to invest also in these parts. And I think your solutions contribute to this. I mean, of course, we're relying also on open source solutions, in a way, in many places.
Explain, why did you actually decide on open source? What was the trigger?
Big philosophical question. I think I hope we can contribute to that. So I think the idea for open source imaging came in when people were developing PCBs that were producible at about €5 cost and were sold for 400. And so we could see that making MRI scanners more accessible, it's not enough to make the machine cheaper. We need to make it open source so we can lower the threshold to produce them.
Okay.
So and also we saw that in the pandemic as well, how we try to get to the vaccine in silos and also with the ventilator system and so on. It doesn't really work if we want to address global issues like that.
Okay, okay. And maybe here we have a question directly to this regarding the open source. How do your AI models actually deal with the different image qualities from various sources?
At the moment, we do not use any AI models, so we are still in the moment in the phase to assess the different application scenarios. Of course, I didn't say this in the beginning, it's a low field system. So we kind of drive both. It's a twofold problem. One thing is, what can you do with low field in the clinic? Where's the limit? So next year, we're gonna drive a case study in a hospital in Bolivia to see if we can detect strokes. Tumor detection works. It works also on lots of other issues, but where's the limit for ultra low field? And the other thing is what changes when you make it open source. So when the system is mobile, for instance, and then you have different temperature realms and so on. So it's rather a question in which direction we need to train these AI models from. So at the moment, there's no reliable data to answer that question.
Okay.
Sorry.
And is there a business model that you have in mind?
Yeah, well, I mean, when it sounds counterintuitive when I open my IP that I could still sell the designs, but of course, if I produce a scanner, I can still sell it and the service related to it. But other doors open. So, for instance, we don't have any investment risk. Everything that we do in development and the certification process happens publicly funded because we're addressing a public issue. We also get a lot of donations and we get a lot of expertise and infrastructure for free because people collaborate with us, so we don't have a lot of costs. And it's never bound to an organization.
Okay, good. So, and right now I would like to combine actually the next two questions, also looking at the time, which is about how do you foresee the future of 3D printing in medicine? And also, maybe you can say what is the current state of 3D printing, but also imaging AI. So maybe Núria, you're nodding.
Yes, well, regarding the future of 3D printing in medicine, I think that in the short term, more hospitals will embrace the use of 3D printing, maybe not in-house, but also outsourcing these services, because the benefits of this technology are very clear. And maybe also this will make personalized medicine more accessible and more available for every patient. And with the use of artificial intelligence, we will be able to automatize a lot of tasks and processes that right now maybe they are time-consuming or very repetitive. So this will make the surgical planning more faster and easier to use. And maybe in the long term, the future of 3D printing will go through the bioprinting, and by being able to fabricate functional organs or tissue, we will eliminate the need for organ donors or for harvesting tissue from the patient, which will also have benefits, reducing the immunological rejection, for example. So I think that this will be the best revolution in regenerative medicine.
Thank you, Núria. And what is your view on the future development?
I think AI will help to, in our case, in our work, to create smart design proposals. Yeah? Because surgeons don't usually reinvent the wheel in practice, in daily operations. They have their procedures and they can use AI, or they will not even notice it maybe, but they will use AI because they can obtain proposals, like you use today ChatGPT. I mean, it gives you first inspiration, and then you start working from there. And it will be similar for surgeons. They will get a proposal how to operate that patient based on their own experience, based on other experience. That will, I think, what AI will bring in the design workflow. And about 3D printing, I would say it's already there. It is in the clinical routine. In our case, I mean, the titanium plates, meshes are being 3D printed, dental splints are 3D printed. It's there.
It's there.
I'm not so sure about point of care, I have to say. This is how this will be efficiently integrated in the clinics. I'm not so sure. Is it point of care or is it a service provisioning? I don't know. Yeah.
And Martin, your view on the future development and the use cases?
I think you say 3D printing is already there, and MRI scanning, of course, is already there, but the question is where. So in Berlin, we have about, I don't know, 160 MRI scanners available, and in Ghana, we have about 1. And this needs to change somehow. And the system that we built has material costs at about 20,000 euros, which is still a lot for these countries, but it's ridiculously less for an MRI scanner. So we hope that we can provide a better infrastructure for that. And then also, these systems are set, they're mobile, so we can set them at the point where they're needed, which also comes with other applications. So this goes forward. I don't see many challenges in that. The other thing is that we need to develop the infrastructure for that on the way, because we're sort of the first ones doing it. Comes with governance model and these kind of things, but also clinical certification. Where is the limit of what open source can do in this regard? So how much of that are we also allowed to share?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think John, he has raised a question here, and this is most probably also then the question for the final round here. When will 3D printing be competitive when we are combining it with augmented reality? So what is your view on this? So even looking, one step ahead.
Well, I think that maybe they are complementary technologies. And by the use of augmented reality, we will maybe reduce the cases that we have to 3D print the anatomical model. So maybe they can be analyzed with augmented reality, but for the surgical guides, for example, it will be needed to have the physical guide. But yes, I think I see them as complementary technologies.
Okay, very good.
I agree. I agree.
Yes,
I have no objections. Yeah.
No objections. So perfect timing also. Yeah.
Yes,
so very, very good. I guess overall we are facing a very, very interesting period of time with all the developments that we have ahead. And I mean, if technology can help patients' lives, to save patients' lives, or to make life better, I think it's really brilliant. Okay, so a big, big thank you to Núria Adell Gomez, yeah, from the Barcelona Children Hospital, Sant Joan. Then we have Hans Lamecker, the co-founder of the 1000 Shapes, and also Martin Häuser, the engineer from the Physikalisch-Technische Bundesanstalt. So a big applause, a big thank you for your contribution.